What if everything you've been told about leaving a legacy is wrong? We grow up hearing that legacy is something passed down, a family name, wealth, or tradition. But what if your greatest impact isn't something you inherit at all? What if it's something you build every single day? Think about it. The stories that echo through history aren't about people who simply accepted what was handed to them. They're about people who decided to shape their own mark, carve their own path, and sculpt a story that would outlive them. Tonight, I want to challenge the way you think about your legacy, not as something waiting for you in the future, tied to your inheritance or your circumstances, but as something you're creating right now, with every choice, every action, every word. Because your legacy isn't a gift you receive, it's a sculpture you craft. From the moment we're born, society begins whispering in our ear, "This is who you are, this is the path you should take, this is the life already laid out for you." We inherit not only names and possessions, but also expectations. A family business waiting for us to take over. A career path that's considered respectable. A way of living that mirrors the generations before us. And often, without even realizing it, we start carrying the weight of other people's definitions of success. It's subtle, the way teachers, relatives, even friends reinforce the idea that our future is simply an extension of our past, that our story is already written and our only job is to play the role. But here's the truth. Inheritance can be a cage disguised as a gift. It can confine us to someone else's vision of life instead of allowing us to explore and create our own. And if we're not careful, we risk living an entire lifetime carrying a legacy that was never truly ours. There comes a moment in life when we must ask ourselves a difficult question. Am I living my story or someone else's? It's tempting to accept the path that feels safe, to walk the road that's already paved, even if it doesn't excite us, even if it doesn't reflect who we truly are. There's comfort in familiarity, comfort in the known. But comfort is not the same as fulfillment. Passive acceptance is easy. It asks nothing of us but obedience. But active creation, that demands courage. It asks us to step into the unknown, to risk failure, to confront fear, and to declare, "I will not be defined by what I was given. I will be defined by what I create." This is the turning point. The moment where legacy begins, not in inheritance, but in intention. Because your true story doesn't unfold when you simply follow instructions. It unfolds when you pick up the pen and start writing new chapters. And yes, it's harder. Yes, it's scarier. But it's also the only way to ensure that your life reflects your voice, not an echo of someone else's. When we hear the word legacy, our minds often rush to money, property, titles, or family heirlooms. We picture wills, estates, and fortunes being passed from one generation to the next. But here's the truth. The most powerful legacies have nothing to do with wealth. Legacies are not measured in dollars or possessions. They're measured in the lives we touch, the values we uphold, the ideas we plant in the hearts of others. Think about the teacher who never owned a mansion, but inspired thousands of students to believe in themselves. The parent who may not have left riches, but left behind compassion, integrity, and resilience. The friend whose kindness becomes a story, retold at family gatherings for generations. Your real legacy is not the stuff you leave for people. It's the change you leave in people. Because money fades, possessions break, and titles are forgotten. But the way you made someone feel, the wisdom you shared, and the love you gave, those are eternal. History remembers those who dared to sculpt their legacy, not those who merely inherited one. Mahatma Gandhi didn't come from great wealth or power. What he left behind wasn't land or gold or titles. He left behind principles. The idea that peaceful resistance could move empires, that nonviolence could transform nations. That was his legacy. Steve Jobs, too, was not remembered for the money he made, but for the vision he pursued. He shaped the way we interact with technology, the way creativity and innovation could be merged to change the world. His wealth was temporary, his impact is lasting. And think of Martin Luther King Jr. His inheritance was not influence or political power. His legacy was his voice, a voice that spoke of justice, equality, and hope. Decades later, that voice still echoes, shaping societies and stirring hearts. The common thread among these figures: they didn't wait for legacy to be handed to them. They picked up the tools of courage, vision, and conviction and sculpted something that would endure long after they were gone. Their lives remind us of a profound truth. Legacies are not born from inheritance. They are born from action. There's a critical difference between leaving behind stuff and leaving behind a story. Stuff is temporary. Houses crumble, cars rust, bank accounts disappear. Even the most precious heirlooms eventually lose their shine. But a story, your story, outlives possessions. It's retold at dinner tables. It's whispered to children before bed. It becomes a compass for the generations that follow. Think about it. A century from now, your great-grandchildren won't remember the shoes you wore or the gadgets you owned, but they may remember the story of how you refused to give up, the story of how you treated people, the story of how you stood for something bigger than yourself. Stuff fades, stories inspire, and in the end, when people speak your name, they won't list the things you had. They'll share the story of how you lived. That, and only that, is the essence of legacy. So let me leave you with this. Your legacy is not something waiting for you in the distant future. It's not locked inside an inheritance. It's not sealed in possessions or titles. Your legacy is being sculpted right now, with every choice you make, with every person you touch, with every value you defend. Don't wait to inherit your path. Don't sit back, hoping that history will remember you. Pick up the chisel, shape your own mark, sculpt your own story. Because in the end, legacy isn't what you leave for people, it's what you leave in them. So I ask you, starting today, what story will you begin to sculpt?